Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is Mira Business FM. It's the morning drive. News developments overnight. Michael Ferraran joins me. Michael works on this program, keeps up to date far better than most of us do. So yesterday, Michael, I was working on some notes diligently for today's show. And the first alert I can remember for ages went off.
July 12. That's when we last heard the alert. You know what, Tim? It's funny because yesterday at 4 o'clock, I thought I'm almost done with my news roundup today. My report only said Shakira and Christina Aguilera's concerts were canceled.
That's all we were talking about?
I thought we're going to talk about that today. But
what a surprise.
Here we are. So yes, as you were saying, I couldn't remember the last time, but upon checking, the last alert we received was on July 12.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's been a couple of weeks already.
Okay, so developing story, big story here in the UAE as the 60 days lapsed yesterday.
Yes, Tim. As you said, developing since last night, the big story here in the UAE is a significant escalation in tensions with Iran. The UAE issued an emergency alert to residents yesterday evening after its air defense systems detected a potential missile threat. The alert was sent at around 6:52 p.m., telling residents to remain in a safe place and follow official instructions. The alert was then lifted about 10 minutes later. The UAE Defense Ministry later said it had detected 2 ballistic missiles launched from Iran towards maritime traffic. According to the UAE, 1 missile fell outside the country's territorial waters while the other fell inside UAE waters. The ministry said there were no reports of casualties from the incident. Iran has then denied it targeted the UAE, calling the accusations baseless. But the incident is significant because it comes after a series of attacks and maritime incidents involving UAE-linked vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. And it marks another serious deterioration in relations between the UAE and Tehran. So, I think that's all that needed to be said there.
Well, that's the story this morning. I mean, it was a surprise. We all kind of got used to the alerts, I suppose, but it is still a shock when something does come in. Glad to hear that nobody was harmed in the incident. In terms of reaction, the UAE, Michael, has taken a major economic step.
Yes, Tim. The UAE says it has suspended all trade, commercial exchanges, and financial transactions with Iran until further notice. The announcement came shortly after the missile incident. The foreign ministry said the decision was taken amid regional escalation that threatens peace and security. This is a major development because the UAE has historically maintained extensive commercial links with Iran despite political and security tensions between the two countries. But the message is clear. The UAE is responding to the latest security escalation while continuing to stress the importance of regional stability. As we do with all the other major stories, team, we will follow this up as it develops in the coming days.
We'll keep up to date with that. This morning on the program, Michael, interviews really, I suppose you could say, related to what we're seeing in terms of escalation of this conflict.
Yes, Tim. First, on the show today, we're going to have Dr. Florian Mayer, Associate Head of Department for Accounting, Economics, and Finance at Heriot-Watt University to Dubai. We interview lots of businesses, startups here in the show, and I've been receiving quite a number of messages. What happens now to the Gulf economy? That's why we have Dr. Florian to give his analysis on the topic.
That's right. And also, we talked to a number of journalists in the region who, obviously, the whole thing about journalism is they're continually talking to people to ferret out information. Frank Kane's with us this morning.
Yes, Frank will give us everything his outlook on UAE prices and supply chains. Frank writes for the Arabian Gulf Business Insight. He writes regularly there, and he gives his analysis on the show. I'm grateful to Frank for always coming on the show to give his expert analysis on these issues.
Editor with the best title in journalism as well, editor at large, which I love. And then real estate follows that this morning, Michael.
Mario Volpe, senior manager of Eva Real Estate. I know it sounds pretty alarming. I mean, Western news for sure will tweak all these things into all kinds of negativity.
Sure.
But interviewing Mario Volpe always reassures me that everything's going well. Real estate is fine. Mario Volpe will give us the updates, and we'll see. I'm excited about Mario's interview later.
Well, it's going to be good because there's a lot of positive stories. And there's one for the old timers this morning as well. Jebel Ali Village is back.
Yes.
So that's going to be something to talk about if anybody remembers
our boss of Mira Business FM, Igor Korbasov, was just telling me yesterday about Mira's latest launch in Muscat, Oman. So I hope Mario talks about it as well. So.
Okay, we'll find out more. All of these on the Mira Business FM YouTube live stream and the Morning Drive podcast. They're coming up next.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive. The US-Iran interim deal has expired without a new agreement, while the Strait of Hormuz remains a major flashpoint. Oil prices are rising again, shipping's under pressure, and businesses are facing renewed uncertainty over energy and trade. So what does this mean for the Gulf economy, for UAE businesses, for consumers, you and I? And could the UAE emerge stronger as regional uncertainty continues? Is a question too. Dr. Florian Meyer is Associate Head of Department for Accounting, Economics and Finance at Heriot-Watt University in Dubai. Joins me in the studio first this morning. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Good. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So let's consider where we are right now with the US-Iran interim deal expiring, no renewed agreement. How much has the economic outlook for the UAE changed?
Well, let's start with this. I mean, generally, UAE is one of those countries in the region that has fared a little bit better than others, obviously, because of the economic structure and the ability to sort of reroute trade, etc. And so, short term, maybe there might be a little bit of a hit to confidence.
Right.
But generally, I think the key thing is about uncertainty. And when the last couple of months sort of have already put a dent on this a little bit, what's happening, what's going to happen, and went a little bit better recently. But I think generally, short term, maybe there's a sort of an effect, if you like. But on longer term, I think the longer term economic outlook still looks good.
Okay.
Businesses will adjust.
I mean, the thing I always feel as though I'm asking questions, and the uncertainty is such that it is not possible to give any definitive answers. It's much more about the feeling of market sentiment and optimism and confidence. And as you said there, a hit to confidence, clearly. But can you contextualize just how vulnerable current global energy markets are, and maritime logistics as well, I guess? So it's important to ask about that. How things are in the Gulf, just set where we are.
Depending on the country we're in, I think. Some countries are, as I said, a little bit better, or geographically from the geographic situation, a bit better to adjust to it than others. I think generally the confidence in some countries is better than others, for obvious reasons. But overall, I think the breakdown just simply prolongs a little bit the situation.
Yeah. Okay.
But overall, oil prices where they are right now. I mean, when it comes to, because you mentioned the global impact, if you like.
That's right.
Well.
Yeah.
At some point, oil prices at that level will become a problem longer term. If it's a short-term blip or short-term spike, I mean, they've been higher before in the past than they're currently. Now they're back to about 90. But if it becomes structural and there's no end in sight to the whole thing, then basically this might become a bigger issue for the world economy.
Well, let's consider that for a moment. I mean, oil prices on an upward tick, 90 odd around about dollars a barrel. Shipping risks still present, of course. How quickly did these kind of commodity shocks typically filter through into broader, I guess, macroeconomic inflation across the region and I guess across the globe?
Well, in some parts very quickly, because I mean, if you think about oil, crude oil is the basic input for so many industries, for so many products. And one of the most important ones is transportation. Any product that goes from the warehouse to the supermarket. If diesel is more expensive, that will raise costs. Input costs for businesses is higher. So basically, if it's a short-term problem, if you like, businesses are able to absorb, or consumers are able to absorb it. But if it stays like this for a longer time, then obviously businesses will have to raise prices, because they cannot absorb input costs for much longer. Consumers will have to cut back spending, and so this may filter through on a national level, but also regional level, etc. So this will be a more longer-term issue that basically needs to be addressed. Like lower prices.
Yeah, I mean, how concerned should we be about oil prices above $90, or maybe even moving towards that, that, I was going to say magic level, that's the wrong phrase, that $100 a barrel.
Yeah. There's two things, if you like. One of them is basically economic activity, because I mean, as I said, if it's a short-term spike in prices, businesses can deal with it. It's not the problem. It's more about if the perception is there that this becomes structural, then any input costs, businesses are no longer willing, if you like, to bear by themselves, and so I have to pass it on to the consumer, which resets the prices for the next level of whose products, or whichever company uses those input costs or input products for their own inputs, and so resets all price levels. And then generally, of course, that turns into some kind of economic drag, because businesses will have fewer resources to invest or to hire. For consumers, if I go to the gas station, I pay more in most countries. That reduces my purchase power. I go to the supermarket, I buy electronics, all these things, so I will spend less. I will go on fewer vacations maybe if I want to, and that basically brings economic activity down. That's one. And the other side is more like if this happens, of course, on a global level, because the economy is the world economy is very interlinked.
Yeah.
At that level, at some point, it also becomes a problem for, let's say, food production, because diesel is the key ingredient for many agricultural products or production, simply for the tractors, for planting, for harvesting, often for irrigation, and especially some countries where this is much more of a problem, developing countries, low-income countries. So it filters through the whole world economy. In some countries, of course, will be more affected than others, but still, it's the whole world is affected from high oil prices.
Well, let's bring it back to the UAE for a moment. For UAE-based importers or exporters or logistics firms operating around the Straits of Hormuz, how significant is the disruption that we continue to see for shipping, for energy supplies, and by extension for global trade?
It is still significant to some extent, because I mean, yes, you can find workarounds. Okay, there's other ports you can use, there's other land-based routes you can use, but they all will use more resources, and they're more expensive, of course, and they take longer lead times, longer production, or delivery times, etc. So this is the cost basis, again, is affected to some extent. And that's one of the key things. But on the other hand, when it comes to importing, exporting, if you think about shipping, of course, you mentioned shipping, insurance rates are still, I mean, obviously mostly for oil-related transport, but still, many other shipping
still higher. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So you have to find ports outside the straits. You can do that, but then you need to ship it on land, by land, basically, by truck, which again, diesel is more expensive technically, and so it really filters into those costs. And this is the one positive, if you like, is that currency peg, the dollar, which is still provides, if you like, a buffer. But definitely import costs or operation costs, if you like, they will be there for a while.
I'm with you. I mean, again, I realize I'm asking you for answers to questions that are almost impossible to answer, but the opinion is as important. I mean, how are you viewing local businesses adjusting the way they plan from their financial planning, and supply chain buffers in light of the renewed friction that we're seeing? Are we seeing capital freeze up, or is it pivoting towards, I don't know, safer assets? How do you view the situation?
I think for businesses, of course, now the key thing is to try and preserve capital, or to find ways to sort of finance the business in a non-traditional way, in many ways. Because, I mean, your costs are higher. Maybe for most businesses, financing costs will be higher, because there will be some higher premiums, increased risk. And so from the financing side, I mean, businesses will be looking at, okay, so what are our exposures? What are the costs where we are most exposed? Are there any ways we can cut costs? For example, find alternative suppliers, cheaper suppliers, or reduce investment, or any of those things to keep capital a little bit more in, because if you don't have the visibility of what's going to come in the future, it's always best to keep your cash together in a way.
Yeah,
And when it comes to the logistics, of course, I mean, the last couple of months, I think many businesses already found alternative ways of getting it, if it's more expensive or different routes, different suppliers. And so from the supply chain perspective, I suppose a lot of adjustment has happened, which probably was supposed to be temporary only. Okay, we can find different suppliers here, but once maybe the situation normalizes, we can sort of find the cheaper ways. I mean, one of the key things also is, I mean, all these alternative trade routes, if you like, or the supply routes, of course, in the short term, they're more expensive because they're ad hoc and they're like, oh, we need trucking and these kind of different things. But if it turns out that, okay, maybe we need them for longer, things will normalize, become more efficient. And so those costs will come down most likely as well. They will still be more elevated and using the most efficient ways of doing business, but still probably come down from the current position, if you like.
Well, at the moment, it's higher freight, higher insurance, higher logistics costs, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Could prolonged disruption? I've asked so many people this question over the last 5 or 6 months, but there's always there are a few variations in answer. But could prolonged disruption push inflation higher across the UAE, particularly food and transport and imported goods? The answer has been so far, it's going to start to happen. I think we've seen it to some extent. I know that people are trying to mitigate where possible.
Yeah.
But how do you view that?
My view is basically the same. I mean, so far it's been fairly muted because there's certain ways you can sort of adjust to this, basically.
Sure.
But at some point, if you like, businesses' possibilities to sort of cut costs, to adjust pricing, etc., are exhausted.
There's a tipping point.
Yeah,
isn't there?
exactly.
Yeah,
So you're able to sort of take a certain reduction in margin or absorb cost inputs. Okay, we can still do this. That's fine because we don't want to raise prices. That's fine. But as you said, there's a tipping point. At some point, you say, no, we can't do this anymore. Like currently, you think about crude oil, just as an example, is up 50% roughly from the start of the year. If it's short term, quickly, okay, you can deal with it. But in the long term, you have to pass on the cost at some point because you can't. It's a significant input cost for many businesses.
Yeah.
And so there will be a point at some point, yes, when we will see a lot more effects of this.
It strikes me that the UAE is well diversified in lots of ways. I think that's fair to say. So absorption of a prolonged shock, we're perhaps better placed to do so. Particularly because we've got alternative trade routes, the logistics infrastructure is robust. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But how long can that last is obviously the question. I think that's, again, how long is the piece of string? But what would you say in response to that as a statement?
Yeah, as a statement. I would say it depends on the timeline we're talking about. So in the short term, of course, again, the UAE has been able to, because there's alternative routes, for import, export. So in the short term, been able to adapt very quickly, very well. Of course, at higher costs to some extent, right? But if this continues, basically, then going back to what I said, costs will come down because routes will become more efficient. And so at some point, if it becomes more, maybe not clear, but if the feeling is, okay, maybe this will last for a longer time, then all these additional capacity, for example, additional pipelines or additional land routes, etc. They will come onto, if you like, they will come online, if you like, and that will reduce costs as well. Everything will become a bit more efficient. So I think generally it's very well placed.
I'm always looking for the positives in this because obviously the whole situation is less than ideal. But one thing that does occur to most people is, okay, you have higher oil revenues. That could actually provide a boost to most Gulf economies, of course, and offset some of the damage caused by disrupted trade. So there is that paradox. And I wonder as well, thinking about this, are investors likely to hold back because of the escalation, or could the UAE benefit from increased demand from a safe haven business environment? Because there is that paradox. Historically, heightened tensions often drive capital flight towards stable jurisdictions. So it kind of seems that the UAE is well positioned to emerge stronger as a safe haven. It's a destination for talent. It's a destination for investment. It's an interesting kind of conundrum, isn't it?
It is, yes. And I think, I mean, generally the end is like a short-term versus longer-term situation in this case.
Yeah.
I mean, short-term, maybe some investors may say, okay, they may hold back. And also depends on which investors we're talking about, whether we're talking local, regional, or international. International investors, maybe some of them may be a little bit deterred and say, okay, I'm holding back. Maybe I'd invest somewhere else, or I'll wait. So they may be deterred from investing in the region at the moment. But locally, nationally, regionally, I mean, investment's they're still going on. And so that's sort of part of the investment part is still continuing. It's just the international flow, which may be temporarily be disrupted, if you like. But also then generally in the long term, if you like, the underlying business case that investors were looking at. I mean, what are they looking for? Stability.
Yeah.
I mean, regulations are stable, tax policies, it's a deep talent pool, as you mentioned. All these things that made the UAE a good place to do business friendly generally, and a magnet for people, for talent, for capital. The best example is the DIFC. Recently, for the first time ever, more than 10,000 active registered companies in the first 6 months of the year, despite of all the things that are going on. So that's a sign of longer-term confidence, basically, for people looking past the situation to the future. Nothing underlying has changed in a way.
Well, the proposition is still attractive, isn't it? I think that's the drum to bank. Clearly, that's what the government are doing, but that makes sense. It's the external difference, I guess. Just how insulated is the UAE economy today, thanks to, non-oil GDP growth? I think robust domestic demand is in there as well. We have strategic trade agreements firmly in place. Compared to previous cycles of geopolitical activity, how do you look at the situation now? How do you view it?
It's more stable.
Yeah.
Because there's more. The economy is much more diversified. So many more legs than before. That's one. Of course, the current situation is slightly different to previously. And that it's a much wider and more maybe prolonged issue. But generally, I think it's in a much stronger position now.
I've got a few more questions I wanted to put to you, and again, theoretical, opinion-led, I suppose. But for UAE companies, what should they be doing now to prepare for potentially higher energy, shipping, insurance, financing costs?
Well, I think the key thing is to say, okay, maybe this might be going on for a little bit longer than expected. I mean, the uncertainty. And so basically any plans that were made for short-term arrangements to continue business may have to be prolonged and looked at again. So basically, when it comes to shipping, insurance, and all these kind of things, are there any ways that we can lower costs? So basically look at your business. So each of those factors that are basically elevated, or the costs that are up, or where there's big uncertainty, how exposed are we to those factors? And then, if you like, run some scenarios or just reassess, are there any better ways? When it comes to financing, for example, look at your financing structure. Is there ways, maybe if it's advantageous, refinancing or securing financing? Because the future looks a little bit less certain than maybe, let's say, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it's basically strategically look into the future and say, okay, if the situation continues, what are our weak spots and how can we adjust, or how can we mitigate those factors, whichever measures they want.
We had a guest yesterday who used this phrase a couple of times. It was plan to have no plan. But his point was, and it was quite a smart point, I thought. As much as you plan, be ready to be able and to have to adapt and to change course. So, he was saying, stay on top of the situation. That was really the point. And I guess that's kind of it was a discussion about freelancers, the way they work, but it applies in the same way to huge businesses.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's in a way. I mean, business is from day to day managing and dealing with problems to the longer term planning or strategic planning, if you like. And right now, the last couple of months, maybe the operational day to day has taken over to keep the business running, but now it's probably time to go back and think about longer term. Okay, so if this really continues, we need to make adjustments so that, let's say, less short term or makeshift adjustment, but really,
final question for you, Dr. Florian. If you could give UAE business leaders and investors one kind of strategic rule of thumb for managing financial risk in a climate like this one, and let's look ahead, 3 to 6 months, maybe a year. What's the biggest economic risk that businesses in the UAE should really be looking at, should be watching?
It's mostly, I think, continued uncertainty, and in this uncertainty in the sense that, okay, maybe there's no immediate solution to this, to the current situation.
Right.
And instead of, okay, because recently things were looking better, etc., and there will be a solution, but maybe not anytime soon, who knows? And that's basically the uncertainty that, okay, anything can happen, so prepare for anything, especially from a financial point of view, to make sure that get your financial house in order, and keep your resources together to some extent. But precautionary savings, that's probably the key. My piece of advice, I would say, look at the finances and be prepared to be flexible.
Be flexible. Seems like sound advice to me. Dr. Florian Meyer is the Associate Head of Department for Accounting, for Economics and Finance at Heriot-Watt University in Dubai. It's been good to talk to you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. This full interview will be posted to our Mira Business FM LinkedIn page later today.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive. Oil has climbed above $90 a barrel. Hopes of a US-Iran deal are fading. Fresh concerns over energy supplies, shipping, cost of goods. For the UAE, the question is how resilient the economy and its supply chains can remain if tensions persist, particularly given the situation overnight. We're joined now by Frank Kane, who is the editor-at-large at Arabian Gulf Business Insight, to look at the Gulf's energy outlook and what businesses and consumers should watch next. Frank, always good to have you here. Nice to see you.
Pleasure, Tim, as ever. Thank you.
So oil, $90 plus a barrel. Collapse of potential US-Iran breakthrough changes the risk calculus. How significant is the $90 threshold for regional producers and global markets right now?
Yeah, it's a milestone along a pathway, isn't it?
It is.
$90. We're actually closer to 93, I think, at the moment, today. But it is one of the psychological levels that traders get excited about. They'll get even more excited when it gets to about $100. The kind of mythology within the oil industry is that at $100, it starts to hurt the American consumer at the gas pump. And that's a big factor in all this, as we know, because that determines what Trump's next course of action might be, with one eye on the midterm elections in November. So $100 is the next psychological barrier, and thereafter, look, in the course of this, we haven't hit the huge spikes that people suggested at the very beginning. 150, 200 was even suggested.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened. I mean, mainly, well, for several reasons, but mainly because, there is no real shortage of oil elsewhere in the world. Plus the fact that the Gulf producers have managed to get quite a lot through the Strait of Hormuz and around the Strait of Hormuz. We can talk about that if you want. So there have been workarounds, and one very big and very important factor is China has stopped buying. China has virtually cut its oil purchases in half. Since the war began. So, that's a huge demand factor taken off the table, and that's why the oil price is where it is. But I wouldn't rule out further spikes. I think we're in a very dangerous phase at the moment, I must say. Dangerous in two senses. Dangerous because it might herald a return to some kind of kinetic action. We saw missiles being lobbed at the UAE yesterday. We all got the phone alerts. But also dangerous in that Trump has said that he's now moving towards a posture of sustained economic warfare and trying to block Iran's economy effectively, isolate Iran from the world. And I think that that's a dangerous thing for this region. We were all looking forward to getting back to business in September, October. The fourth quarter was supposed to be the time when things, got back to some kind of normality.
Yeah.
Well, sustained economic warfare doesn't sound like, normality to me.
It doesn't, no. I mean, how much higher could oil prices go if the Strait of Hormuz remains under pressure, if the situation remains as it is now, and we see, patches of escalation the way we've seen them recently?
It's not so much how far they will go. There will be spikes, and they could get up to 120, maybe 150. Who knows? But it's really at what sustained high level they will be maintained. The level of hostility and kinetic action going on in the Gulf at the moment is enough to keep them above 90. In my opinion, and then they will spike above 100, depending on other factors. We saw the attacks yesterday on UAE maritime navigation, 2 missiles, and then late last night, and quite possibly in retaliation for those strikes, we saw the UAE announcing that it would cut off all economic, financial, and commercial ties with Iran, which might have surprised some people. But the UAE has been quite diplomatic about this. It has maintained supply. It has maintained commercial contact with Iran throughout. And just recently, we saw that aeroplane flights were beginning again to some Iranian cities. And of course, there are 500,000 Iranians who live in the UAE. They still do business with home. Well, presumably not anymore. The other important factor in this one is that there was always the promise that the UAE, would invest in Iran again when all this is over, that it might be a big factor in the reconstruction and recovery of Iran. And cutting off all economic and financial commercial ties, that seems to talk against that. And again, to leave me with the impression that we're in for a longer term thing.
In terms of the impacts, Frank, on the UAE economy and non-oil growth, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, though? Because higher oil revenues traditionally boost state coffers. They also bring imported inflation, supply chain cost pressures. So how is the UAE's non-oil economy currently insulated to handle those kind of dual pressures?
It's insulated to some degree because the UAE is far more diversified than most other GCC countries. And in normal times, that is a good thing. But of course, all that depends on contact with the rest of the world and access to global supply chains. And those have been seriously affected. Yeah. Since the conflict began, trade at Jebel Ali and at Khalifa Port in Abu Dhabi has been knocked back incredibly. There's hardly anything there. A friend who was down there recently said there was only a few ships around and half of them were Iranian, doing perfectly respectable, innocent business, of course. But all those factors weigh on the non-oil economy, and because the non-oil economy is bigger in the UAE, then it's more important. Of course, we look at the 3 Ts. I keep going back to the 3 Ts in the UAE: trade, transport, and tourism. Yeah. Those are the things that made the UAE really, certainly made Dubai, and those have all been seriously affected. And I don't see a way to unaffect them at the moment. I don't see a way out of this. If the strait stays blocked, if there is a US blockade in place, then effectively Jebel Ali is virtually at a standstill, for a long time indeed. And that has all sorts of other knock-ons. Inflation you mentioned. We're seeing a little spike in inflation at the moment. July will probably be around 5% or something. Which is the highest for some time, certainly the highest since the war began. Most of the economists expect that to ease off in the fourth quarter, but then we're expecting a lot of things in the fourth quarter that may not happen. So, we do have to watch out for inflation. I mean, I certainly notice, I don't know where you shop, Tim, but, I certainly notice, and my wife notices, she tells me every day, you see the price of onions. But inflation is a whole factor of the economy, by itself on its own. We have to pay more to import goods because the logistics costs are higher. If goods are coming in from the eastern coast of the country, you have to pay shipment across the country. Yeah. All these things are hugely destabilizing factors for the economy.
I have this image in my head of you not munching your way through as many onions now, Frank, unfortunately, and it's hard to get rid of it.
I think the studio smells better because there aren't that many onions around. Yeah,
there's certainly a little bit less, a few less tears around. But it's a good point, well made, because these, that's a great way to illustrate the point. And we are seeing prices increase. The UAE's invested heavily in alternative routes, logistics logistics infrastructure. But as you point out, if it comes in the East Coast, you then have to truck it across the country. But how much protection does that investment in alternative routes actually give the economy?
Look, it is not a complete bypass, complete workaround. Just look at the figures. Jebel Ali has a maximum of something like 20 million TEUs. Those are the huge containers.
Yep.
The new ports that were recently announced on the East Coast will have a maximum capacity of 2.5. So it can't replace Jebel Ali. Jebel Ali really has to be up and running again soon. Yeah. Now, having said that, of course, the Habshan to Fujairah pipeline, run by ADNOC, that has been a huge success. 1.5 million barrels, maybe 1.8 million barrels going through that each day. That's half of UAE capacity going through that. And we with other measures, sailing ships around the southern side of the strait, filling up tankers outside the strait, all of which ADNOC has been doing. Those have kept things going, and they have added to the amount of supply that there is in the world and kept the UAE economy going. But we can never work around a thing like this. 25% of the UAE's GDP comes in through Jebel Ali. That's kind of the normally accepted figure, and that is virtually at zero apart from the logistics workaround by road from Fujairah.
Do you know what I was interested in? It was an article. Was your latest article was out yesterday on ATBI? Is that right?
Yeah.
The Trump economic warfare article. I want to ask you about the article, but I'm wondering, when you were writing that, how you feel today, having published that article, given the events overnight.
Well, I feel a bit vindicated, but but not in a way that I'd want to see. Really,
it's not how you wish, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I always thought that the move to, as he called it, sustained economic warfare was a very bad one for this region, because it prolongs everything. At the moment, as the Foreign Ministry advisor Anwar Gargash said recently, we are neither at war nor peace.
Yeah.
And sustained economic warfare, merely extends that. I mean, look, the Gulf has had enough warfare of any kind. We don't need a different kind. We'd like to see an end to it, wouldn't we? Sure. I kind of felt vindicated, but not in a way that I'd want. And the financial announcement last night also got me extremely worried too, because that was a kind of a thing the UAE was holding on to in its relations with Tehran. Maybe it was a reason why the UAE had avoided some of the worst effects of Iranian attacks over recent weeks and months, which we had so far. We haven't heard anything since June, I think, the last alert.
July the 12th, the last alert, but that was rescinded,
fake, wasn't it?
That
yeah.
That's right.
The last serious ones were June.
That's right.
So that happened last night. I was jumping around my living room. So I don't think things are looking very good at the moment, I've got to say.
I'm trying to look for a positive, I'll be honest with you, in all of this. And I wonder, maybe it's trite to point out, but the UAE could actually benefit because, companies are going to look for secure trading, logistics and investment hubs. The UAE is well placed in that way. So the point is that the UAE is still a very attractive proposition externally for most people. So there is that. I'm just wondering how resilient you see the UAE economy at the moment compared with, previous periods of instability that we've seen.
Right. Well, look, the UAE's track record in displaying resilience and overcoming crises, really is remarkable. Going back to the days of the Iran-Iraq war in the 1980s. which was a serious threat to a very young country then, and then the various Gulf wars. And in many ways, the UAE has always adopted the old adage of turning a crisis to opportunity. And that's, that has carried on too. After the global financial crisis, 2008 to 9, the UAE virtually turbocharged the financial sector here and made itself very attractive indeed to global capital. COVID, was quite remarkable. The measures that the government of the UAE put in place, both to combat COVID, but to ensure that its recovery post-COVID was really fast and accelerated.
It was the speed at which that
Well,
happened.
exactly, yeah, and it led to another, 2 or 3 years of boom times here. Now, this, you could argue that this is a different kind of crisis. This is a more existential crisis. Cutting off what had been the the supply focus of the region. That is serious, and you can't do the workarounds in time to fully compensate if they ever are intended to be that. I don't think they are. Now, having said all that, the UAE, of course, will continue to be an attractive place for people to, come, live, work, invest, buy property.
Yep.
But we have to get this over and done with. We can't live in this no war, no peace situation forever. That's my view on that. So look, the UAE has got enormous benefits. I've lived here 20 years. I know them. But this is a serious challenge.
It's the uncertainty, isn't it, at the moment? So geopolitical tensions flaring. What often happens is businesses will shift between aggressive growth or defensive, preservation of cash. How you talk to people every day? How do you weigh corporate sentiment in Dubai and the wider UAE right now, particularly given the current backdrop, if you like?
The corporate economy, has actually held up pretty well. Most of the figures that we've seen have related to the first half of the financial year 26. So they've taken in, half of it has been the war period. And so far, they have not been so bad. We've seen, good figures from the big bellwether stocks like MR and others. Both DP World and AD Ports recently reported half-year figures that were remarkably good, considering both ports are virtually empty. So we haven't seen this feed through yet. But, again, I go back to my point about the duration of this thing. These kind of factors will have to weigh heavily at some stage. Likewise, banking. We haven't seen a big increase in the number of non-performing loans, for example. We haven't seen big corporate banking drawdowns. We haven't seen runs on banks or anything like that. The banking figures have been very sustained and very strong. But at some stage, this will begin to affect the financial economy too. DIFC and ADGM both recently reported very strong figures for the first half. Let's hope that continues into the second half. But all the economists, are looking at, are now beginning to work on their full year figures for 2026. And, those numbers are going down. Even the IMF, which has probably been the most optimistic, will probably have a negative sign in front of its forecast for the UAE in 26 later this year.
Let's hope we get this final quarter. Let's hope we get some kind of resolution, some kind of guiding certainty or principle or something, so that September through December is as we'd hoped.
Yeah.
a little bit more busy than we can handle.
Yeah, that's right. The number of things that are happening from October onwards in the UAE, but also in the region, are enormous. There are huge global events taking place.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm thinking of ADIPEC in the UAE, Abu Dhabi Financial Week, the Future Investment Initiative in Saudi Arabia. The World Petroleum Congress takes place in Saudi Arabia in October. All these are huge events, and they could be the spark for recovery. Let's hope they go ahead as planned.
Frank Kane is the editor-at-large for Arabian Gulf Business Insight, AGBI. You can read him regularly online and see him here at Mira Business FM too. Frank, always good to talk to you. Thank you.
Great pleasure, Tim. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. To listen to this discussion again, as well as hear many, many, many more of our interviews and debates, look for Mira Business FM wherever you get your podcasts from.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the morning drive. It's time to talk real estate now. Mario Volpi is a senior manager at Eva Real Estate. He's here every week. He's also the man behind the Dubai Property Podcast and is a regular columnist, a weekly columnist for the national newspaper. He's many talents. He's a Chelsea supporter. I'm not sure that's a talent, but there you are.
No, but I helped to run it.
You do.
Good morning.
The supporters go. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you for a few weeks.
I know it's been a while.
Yeah, I think we've missed you. Is the phrase.
It's very kind.
Yeah, that's okay.
Is that scripted?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the notes. Say you've missed Mario in bold.
Well, I forgot what you look like.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. Many would say that's not such a bad thing. How have you been? How's the summer been?
Yeah, it's been eventful.
Okay. Eventful as in?
Well, I bring it always back to real estate from the point of view of what's going on. There's been lots of movement, and we'll talk about that regarding rents and things.
Yeah.
But sort of, I'd like to say stop-start, where things seem to be going to normal. You know, are we at peace? Are we okay? Are we being left alone?
Yeah.
And so green shoots starting to come out, and then the orange man says something and some saber rattling, and all of a sudden, the bunnies all run away from the field because the wolf is out again. I don't know. It's that. Are we at peace or are we not? I don't know. And that's caused some issues. But it has led to a lot of movement in the rental market.
Right.
Talk about the summer. Obviously, we had the World Cup, so that was also quite good to keep us going. And this weekend coming, we've got the start of the Premiership. So, yeah, it's all good.
It's all looking up, isn't it?
Well, it is now, yeah.
But yeah, football-wise at least. No, but you're right. I mean, it's interesting. The uncertainty continues. And I think we're still in this place where you're almost in limbo, aren't you?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That
you can't make a decision. Yeah, that's the point.
Buyers are sitting on their hands quite a bit, and of course, with sellers, depending on whether it's secondary market or off-plan, etc., they're also thinking, well, we can ride this out. And so sometimes there's that state of limbo, as you say, where not a lot is actually happening. The willingness is there, but the execution isn't.
The hope is for a flurry of activity post-summer. I mean, traditionally, summer, a more quiet period, lots of people away. We're all aware of that. Not as quiet as it perhaps used to be. Dubai's much busier. But my fear coming back was, it's going to be crazy from September till December. I don't have the energy for this. I was starting to get grumpy, actually.
Well, I don't know, Mario, be careful what you wish for. I mean, I hope that you're right and that we do have to, take our vitamin tablets to keep up with the activity, because obviously we've had, 6 months or so of confusion, and listen, deals are still being done. I mean, record numbers are still recorded, and in some respects, record numbers considering. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to what we've got used to in some respects. Because Dubai is still Dubai, and people still want a piece of it. As I say, they're just a little bit cautious. Yesterday, for example, we were actually here at the Art of Living Mall to talk to all the other brokers for the new launch of Mira Coral Bay, which is in Ras Al Khaimah. Right. And the room was filled. I mean, the place was rammed. They had people on the balustrade looking down as well, from the ground floor level looking down. So if you look around, you'd think that the market was back. The activity is definitely there, and this particular project is an amazing one with an amazing payment plan. Really, really, really good value, and in a part of RAK that hasn't been talked about, which is downtown Ras Al Khaimah. So not next to the casino, a bit further down the coast, heading towards Fujairah. But obviously not quite that far. But so that was testimony that I'm not going to say the market is back. I mean, did it ever really go away? The interest is definitely there.
Well, the interest is, I was wondering what it was yesterday. I mean, the atrium is sort of over my shoulder, and that's where lots of the launches, happen. I was wondering why all these people were walking around yesterday.
Well,
but it did seem...
they closed the car park downstairs. I mean, I couldn't even get in.
Really?
So I had to, park on the RTA or whatever. But that again goes to show the interest that's there for Mira developments.
That's remarkable. So that's the Ras Al Khaimah development. There's going to be there's a new development being announced by Mira in Muscat as well. I've heard
Salalah.
Is it Salalah?
Yeah,
okay.
Salalah. Ocean Estates. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's quite a few, and so it's a case of yes, we are Mira Business FM, obviously. But watch this space. There'll be quite a few, and the biggest one I think will be Mira Hills, which is on the Dubai Abu Dhabi borders, which probably be end of this year, beginning of next.
That's a huge swathe of land, isn't it? And they bought from Abu Dhabi ports a while ago. So you point that out correctly. I mean, the interest really is still there. Do you know the story that sort of grabs my attention in the last while? And I'd missed a fair amount having been away for a bit, but this is the one that's not going away. In particular, an article that was out, I think this is, let me just check, Monday. Why Dubai residents will not have to take out loans to pay rents. And it's an article that discusses the positive shift in the Dubai rental market. It focuses on how the rise of automated, recurring payment systems is eliminating the traditional burden of paying rent in large lump sum annual or multi-check installments, so you can pay monthly. So, my question to you, is the check era finally over?
Well, before I try to answer that, I would say that this is kind of a story that's got legs and it's run and run.
It has, and it's gathering some momentum.
It started when you were still here. Obviously, Abu Dhabi put that sort of rental increase freezes. You weren't allowed to increase any prices, and then Dubai kind of followed suit with flexible rentals payments. With these, I think 12 or 13 companies that were then offering sort of 12 check payments. Then came the news that the land department has got together with a bank, and they're offering these sort of zero interest payments where you can then pay 12 months, but the landlord gets his payment in one go, which no doubt we can elaborate on. Is the check era over? I want to say yes, but it won't be for a while. It's just too ingrained in the sort of psyche, if you like, of landlords. It's their only real means, unless somebody's paying, in one check, as it were. It's their only real means of physically having something, which although they haven't necessarily cashed yet, if they're post-dated, they have it in their possession.
Yeah.
And as we all know, possession is 9/10 of the law. So the fact that you then leave everything to a banking system, direct debits, is obviously what everyone else is doing. But despite all of these announcements, I can tell you that landlords are still asking for 1 and 2 checks.
I know.
And you've got yours coming up, what is it, March next year, I think.
March next year.
By then, hopefully, a little bit more water's passed under the bridge. But it's a process. And will it go away? Yes, it will. But I can't see it doing that anytime soon. So short to medium term, we will still be dealing with checks, I think. But long term, 100% yes, and kind of rightly so. I mean, I don't know about you. You went to Scotland, didn't you? Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So when I go to England, I mean, I find it difficult to even hand over cash. Everything is digital there. And then there's
no
the
cash
odd
anywhere anymore.
Well, there's the odd dodgy shop that will still take a cash.
Turkish barbers.
No, I meant like my comic shops and things. But yeah, I mean, even the Chelsea Megastore, I took out a load of cash, thinking I'll just pay this off, and no, only cards here, sir. I went, oh God.
Really?
Okay, so now I've got all this sterling in my pocket.
So what did you buy in the Chelsea Megastore? I'm interested. Who's on the back of your shirt?
Well, I bought Rogers.
Did you?
But that was the latest purchase, but that was via the online. And my wife lives there, as you know.
Yeah.
She's coming in a couple of weeks, so she's going to be bringing it. I don't like the new top, the home top. I don't like it at all. Colour is amazing. I don't like the collar. So I refused to buy it. Whereas the away kit, the white and the black, really nice. So I went for the black one. And Roger's 17. I thought, why not? Let's go for something a little bit different. New signing. Scored on his debut. It was a tap in, but,
Yeah,
we'll take it.
but the confidence you get from a goal in your first game.
Absolutely. See, we've completely moved from real estate and rentals to football.
Yeah, it's much more interesting. No, it's not at all.
Not for some of the listeners, I don't think.
Probably not. Do you know what? But back to the story. I mean, paying by cheque over using direct debit. We were talking direct debits on Monday on this show, and the direct debit system is legally equivalent to the cheque system. So there's no reason why, if landlord, we can't get to a point where landlords think, well, hold on a minute, I'm protected in the same way by direct debit. I've had all my money up front. It's up to whoever facilitates the direct debit to collect from an errant tenant, for example. So, perhaps we are getting towards the end of the cheque era. I don't know. But as you say, I mean, with my landlord, where my landlord is, I think they still have a fax in their office, to be honest with you. So I'm not sure anything's going to change for
That's
me
amazing.
anytime soon.
Has he got a Nokia as well?
He uses a 3310 and he's really up with everything. But you're right, it is ingrained thinking, isn't it? But we need to shift because from a tenant's point of view, having to shell out, I mean, the best you're going to get is quarterly. Really, isn't it,
I mean,
days?
if you're lucky, you might even get 6. I mean, I was extremely lucky when I was with my, I'm going to call him my original landlord. We had an amazing business relationship, and in the end, I just told him when I was ready to, I'm going to pay you in 12 checks, and he accepted it because by then he knew me, and the relationship had been founded, and so there wasn't an issue. And that's not to say I didn't have difficulties. I went through, during the property market ups and downs. That there were times where it was very, very difficult. But equally, when I was able to help him as well, I did so. Paying in one check. I mean, one time I remember I came into some funds and I was able to pay in one check, and I called him and I said, "Are you sitting down? I'm going to pay in one check." I didn't have to because he was quite happy to receive 12 checks, but I felt I wanted to give something back, and that was the difference between what some of these tenants and landlords, relationship-wise, they have and what I had with mine.
Yeah, but that's your attitude to relationships, isn't it? I think that's a lesson for lots of us that there is give and take in those relationships, and it's worth understanding the value of that long term. The other thing in this, and it did occur to me that if you're looking at a couple of places and you can get a place by paying 4 checks, or you can get a place by direct debit, the 4-check place is a little bit cheaper than the direct debit place.
Yeah, that's also got to change.
Are you more likely to think, well, if I can pay monthly, I can pay a little bit more because I don't have that great big upfront payment? So actually, psychologically, direct debit may help landlords as well.
No, absolutely. And I think this whole thing, it's about trust at the end of the day.
Sure.
And if you're saying then I don't trust the banking system, then I think you've got I'm not saying you've got a problem. I mean, but at least it works, So
it has its protection, so it's
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you've set it up and it's all done properly, and then of course the landlord's going to get his money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't like the fact in some respects that for an easier liquidity arrangement, and by that I mean 12 checks, that the landlord takes advantage of that and really hits the tenant. Well, it's this price for 12. If you must, if you really like pulling, wrenching my arm back, as it were. Otherwise, it's this, and I can understand obviously the reason why they want the one check payment. It's done and dusted, one and done, finished. I don't even know, assuming there's no issues with the maintenance. I don't have to see you or hear from you at least for a whole year, type of thing. So I get that. But when you're a landlord, you are responsible. And a lot of landlords forget that they have a duty of care to their tenants.
Yeah.
And this comes out very much. I get letters all the time about maintenance. If it's not returning the deposits, if it's not, the maintenance issues that landlords is ghosting them, that they're not replying. It's just not on. I mean, people have to have quiet enjoyment, and that's a legal term. To have quiet enjoyment, you've paid rent for have quiet enjoyment of the property, and often they don't, and it's a nightmare. And ultimately, it just leads to people saying, "Look, I've had enough. I need to get out of this situation because life's too short, and you don't need to have all this grief when it comes to sort of either maintenance issues or lack of respect from a contact and ghosting and all this business."
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, but anybody can be a landlord, just as anybody can be a parent, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should be.
That's a great analogy, actually. Yeah, you can be a parent, but you can't be a father or a mother. But yeah, good point.
Yeah. So the benefits of having a direct debit system, there are a number. Enhanced financial well-being, so you don't have to tie up large sums of liquid capital, so less high-interest personal loans perhaps. That's a benefit, it's a societal benefit, of course. And potentially, there's a situation here that it reduces the risk of bounce checks as well. I mean, that's disquietening, isn't it, I suppose? Because you're streamlining the collection process for landlords because you have a direct debit system in place.
Exactly.
That's important. And I suppose in the long run, this is a competitive market, and if you can offer something that ties in a tenant, the tenant that you want, that's got to be a good thing.
Definitely, it's a good thing. But as you
I'm
were
preaching
saying,
to the converted here, aren't I?
but as you were speaking about that, I was just trying to think. We're talking about direct debits as if it's something new. I mean, direct debits
true.
have been around as long as the ATM machine's been out.
Yeah, this is true.
If not longer.
Yeah.
But it's just now we are starting to wake up to it, if you like, as a credible alternative to the checks. But we still have a lot of, dare I say, old school landlords, especially, dare I say, old Emirati landlords or institutional landlords who, have always done things in a certain way. And it'll be those people that will take time. I mean, they will change, but it will take time for them to sort of get away from what they're comfortable with all the nuances that checks kind of have. It will definitely take time.
Well, it will.
But it's great. I mean, I'm really happy that the spotlight has finally been sustained on the rental market because it's about time. I mean, I've been here 18 years. I mean, how long do we have to go until we sort of modernise the system?
Yeah, well, it's a good point. It's not before time, is it? And this is it's almost like a groundswell of opinion and initiatives, and it seems as though it's much more than willing a system into effect. There's another article on the 14th of August, just a day or two before I got back. This was Gulf News talking about the DLD partnership with a local bank that you mentioned, zero interest at rent now, pay later service. So
there's many ways now to set it up. There's no reason at all why a landlord now should insist on a one check payment through fear of not knowing the tenant is what I mean. I mean, obviously it's their property; they can ask whatever they like. However, from a financial point of view, the burden really is on that tenant when he pays in one check. And I always say, look, if you're lucky enough to have a salary, you don't get paid in once. They don't pay you a year up front. You get paid monthly.
Well, this is the thing.
So the liquidity side of things and managing. I mean, I've never gone to a bank to get a loan in order to pay my rent. I've always negotiated and agreed something that is manageable. If it's a shorter number of checks, then obviously you've got to have enough savings to be able to cover certain things.
Sure.
If it's 12, then you kind of don't have to worry about that, assuming obviously you've got a secure job that also pays on time. I mean, that's another thing. Your rent comes out at a certain time, or the check is written on a certain date. And of course, during periods like we've had recently, where obviously stories have come out, and people have either lost their jobs or have had salary reductions or in some cases even removed and payments done in a slightly different way, that has an impact then on your liability, clearly. A bit like COVID, when people were put on furloughed, as it were, which is a word I'd never even heard of before 2020.
I thought it was a farming term.
I thought it was something
reason.
to do with horses,
Yeah.
or a length, isn't it? A furlong, I'm thinking.
I think that's furlongs. But it's close. It's 2 letters out. We're going to hear more about this as well, because with the Rent Now, Pay Later scheme, that builds on the DLD's earlier FlexiRent program, and full details, i.e. eligibility criteria, platform applications, banking partners, are going to be announced in due course ahead of the launch.
Yeah, on this one we don't know.
Happening.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what. Look, the bones was there and it was great.
Yep.
I had a few questions. If it's interest free, for example,
it is interest free. Yeah.
therefore,
that's for sure.
is there a fee though? I mean, interest free is one thing. Is there a fee? Because
know.
I'm thinking, what's in it for the banks? Because they are receiving 12 installments. And maybe they're having to, maybe the tenant's got to write 12 checks, let's say, so the check hasn't disappeared, in order to secure that payment, or maybe they set up a direct. I don't know. But the landlord then gets the check in, gets the money in one go. So everyone's a winner there.
Sure.
Apart from the bank, unless, of course, there is, I need to know what's in it for them. Just to see how it works more than anything.
Yeah, how the setup fee works, etc.
That to me would be the best way, because everybody literally is happy, and of course more people would consider renting. There'd be more money in the economy. It's not just tied up in one thing. I think it's definitely a win-win.
It should be. Well, it's going to get some. There's momentum going to be gathering. The next story I wanted to talk to you about, and this is a report from Crompton Partners. It's Abu Dhabi's residential property market. Significant surge in off-plan secondary market activity during Q2 2026. No surprises here, really, because it's off-plan, of course. Properties bought before completion increased by, it's a big figure, 56% compared to Q1 2026, 883 transactions against 567 in the previous quarter. So that's kind of the top line figure of the report. What did you think when you read that?
Well, we've talked about Abu Dhabi literally coming out of the shadows, if ever it was, from Dubai, and literally shining on its own accord.
Yeah.
There's some really, really good projects, especially on Yas. I think Yas is the major driver of the off-plan projects, and the numbers you've just quoted there. But also close to it, you've got the Yas Canal, and on the mainland side, you've got many projects which literally, when they go to launch, they sell out. So people have recognised that the capital is a major driving force in the UAE's economy, and also especially on from a property point of view. The world has been talking about Yas for a little while now, especially since the announcement of Walt Disney coming, which I know has kind of got a bit quiet, but these things take time.
Yeah, they do.
But sooner or later, I mean, it's a huge area, and that's going to be a massive draw. You've got so many attractions on Yas, and the lifestyle that living on a canal can actually bring is just a great benefit to investors and obviously end users. You've got Al Hudriyat Island, which is another one where Mudon, who are the developers there, again came out of nowhere all of a sudden, selling out because again the location is very, very salubrious. Perhaps you're on the other side of the water to a lot of the Abu Dhabi palaces. A bit like sort of the old Sakim Road, as it were, leading up to Burj Al Arab. You've got the sort of palaces there.
Yep.
Same sort of arrangement. Only instead of a road, you've got water, which is far better, and selling out every time. So yeah, either locally, local investors, or internationally, people have now woken up to the fact that Abu Dhabi is on the map. Aldar, also doing great job in all their projects. So yeah, I think it's definitely not so much one to watch, but one to sort of get on board with.
Well, this is the thing. The strongest turnover rates are developments nearing handover. Buyers, prefer when they can see the final
course, yeah.
product. Of course they do. Yas Island, the centre of off-plan activity, over 40% of total transactions in Q2. Gardenia District is the busiest project. Sustainable City, Yas Golf Collection, no surprises there, I guess. Ream 11, Manarat Living. But this, it didn't surprise me, but it's interesting. There's growing activity in newer communities outside of those kind of traditional island hubs. So Al Reman, for example, 148 sales. Bloom Living, 80 sales. So there's demand for the more, I suppose they're more kind of family-oriented options. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And also Aldar showed that with their Al Ghadir project as well. I mean, when they first launched that was kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere, or at least you thought it was. It was neither Dubai nor Abu Dhabi, although it's still in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. And they've had several other phases where literally they've sold out. Really good value. And of course, if you look at the whole map of the UAE, you will actually see that the center is shifting. The center is actually shifting towards, if you like, the sort of closer to the Jebel Ali area. So the borders and where Al Ghadir is. So that area is going to, in the future, if not already, be a focus of lots of activity. And I mentioned before, Mira Hills, as it were, the sort of that land that is stuck exactly there. So it's really good. Isn't it?
Yeah. That's a huge development, Mira Hills.
It's the size of, I understand it's the size close to Dubai Hills. So, and they're going to have a mall there that's, I think, bigger than the Mall of the Emirates.
It's a mini city,
yeah,
isn't it?
No, it is. And it's going to be connected with the train as well.
Yeah.
It's on the highway. You've got lagoons. I mean, it's got everything: hospitals, hotels, museums, stadium. Building one, not many. But
as long as there's a stadium, I'm happy.
But the other thing is that in the mall, it's going to have another ski slope. So it's going to be like Mall of the Emirates 2.0, but better, because the ski slope in Mall of the Emirates, I understand, is 480 meters, I think. It's just under 500 meters. This one's going to be over 700 meters. So that's the first change. The other change is when you're in Ski Dubai, I mean, let's face it, you're inside a fridge. There's nothing you can see other than the coffee shop through the glass at the bottom. There's no windows, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, true.
Whereas the mall in Mira Hills will be all glass. And therefore, when you ski and you see the sky, it's as if you are kind of outside, inside, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Yeah, that's remarkable, isn't it? Okay. I look forward. I've never skied, so I don't know. Are you a skier?
I'm not a good one, but
you have skied.
But I have skied. Yeah,
Never broken anything on the slopes.
No, but I did my knee in a bit.
Okay.
So that and then football didn't help. So yeah, I've got 1 weak knee.
Okay.
I'm weak-kneed.
Okay. I don't know where we go now. I've lost my train of thought. Next story. So, Dubai property buyers upgrading to bigger units move to high-end communities after price drop. There's the headline. This was Khalij Times. This is yesterday, actually. Property buyers who were previously considering mid-market communities, Arjan, JVC, for example, increasingly exploring premium destinations, including Dubai Hills, Creek Harbour, Palm, Jumeirah. That's the headline. That's the intro paragraph. Is that true?
But this is rentals, I assume. Yeah. So. No, absolutely. Look, there's always that flight to quality, that flight to improvement when prices soften, and for sure the prices have come down in rents. I think they were always going to come down, but the conflict, I think, has just accelerated the amount. There are still, by the way, landlords that are digging their heels in, not just in number of checks, but also in the rental amount.
Right.
But they're the ones that are being left behind. So this story is. I mean, I'm not surprised by it in the slightest, because when prices go up, people tend to shift from Dubai to Sharjah because it's cheaper, or Dubai to Ajman because it's cheaper, and suffer the travelling in. When it's the other way round, obviously they look for bigger properties and they look for better properties. I have to say the activity level at EVA has been a lot on rents. There's been a lot of movements on rents. So I can say I have seen a lot of movements. Whether, you see, I don't know what individual people are wanting, so that the properties that they're going for might be an upgrade to them, but to me it could be an ordinary house, or they're not all moving into Emirates Hills mansions, is what I'm trying to say. Then we can see that everybody clearly is upgrading. But there's a lot of movement on all the asset classes, from the townhouses to the villas, and even the bigger apartments. So I guess yes, they're looking for a little bit more space. Why not? If you can afford it, if rents have come down and now the payment terms are more favourable, why not improve it?
Well, the suggestion is that people are upgrading, so capitalising on what they see as a lull before prices maybe stabilise. Data suggests the return of buyers is heavily concentrated in the secondary ready-to-move apartment market in this article as well. Right. So there's a preference now for ready-to-move stock over off-plan projects, and I wonder what that means for somebody trying to decide between the two at the moment as well.
For rent, it has to be, obviously.
No, but I mean talking. The data suggests this is in terms of sales.
So for sale, Look, I mean, not that there has been that many delays in the past. I can say it's not really a topic anymore. But the only reason why I guess you wouldn't want to buy off plan is the threat of a delay.
Right.
With the conflict, delays are going to come. This maybe people are looking now, saying, well, something that actually is looking to move in. Then if it's there, they can see it. They know what they're getting, and they can move in today, rather than the promise of something that may have issues with delays because of obviously whatever's going on with the Straits of Hormuz and shipments and delivery of materials, etc. So I think we've yet to see the fallout of that from the property market point of view, because I think developers had a lot of stock already in terms of materials. They were well stocked. So let's wait and see. But I think it's an interesting one, because most of the time, if you can see it, feel it, and touch it, then it's a yes or no, rather than trying to sort of sell you the dream of what it's going to look like. Because these glossy brochures, I mean, AI and all the rest of it, they're all very nice, but the reality sometimes isn't what the brochure brought.
There's nothing like walking into a place, is there? Well, you need the feel.
Yeah, no, that I give 100%. That's why perhaps I'm more akin to the secondary market than off plan. I've always been more not attracted, but it's always been part of my repertoire. I would say I'm 60, 65%, 40, 35% off plan, and the greater secondary. Because it's not just that. I mean, some people, believe it or not, don't believe agents when they say, well, where does the sun go up? Where, can I see the sunset? Whatever. Yeah, come and have a look.
Shock.
You are shocked, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
We do tell the truth in the main.
No, I don't.
At least I try to, anyway.
I don't doubt you at all. No, do you? That's an interesting point, actually. Do you find when you first meet a prospective buyer, do you often get the impression that people are a little bit standoffish because of the real estate stereotype, agent stereotype?
No longer. Yeah, no longer. I mean,
no, you don't.
No longer. I think no.
Or are you just immune to it now after?
Well, maybe, but I don't know. They see. If you're talking specifically about me, then no. I mean,
no, I see you as a trustworthy torchbearer.
There's a few grey hairs there, so I mean, obviously, I've been around the block a couple of times. But I have to tell you something that happened yesterday, which I was gobsmacked. So I was here downstairs, and a room full of people. I mean, atrium full of people. And I decided to go and grab a coffee, and I've not even opened my mouth. And there's these two guys standing there talking, and they were Italian. I could hear them speaking Italian. And before I even could say, "Can I have a coffee, please?" to the bartender, this one chap says, he says, Mario Volpi, like it's such an honor. And I'm thinking, well, have I got it written on my forehead or something? And he's an Italian agent, works for Gabetti, a guy called Leonardo, really nice chap. He was with a guy called Roberto. And we started to talk. And
do you know what I love is when you use an Italian word or an Italian name,
I Italianize it.
You're West London, and then all of a sudden you are full on Tuscany.
Well, I don't know about Tuscany, but yeah. So, and I kind of was intrigued. He said, "Yeah, a friend of mine told me to follow you, and I've been following you. I've been meaning to sort of reach out, meet you. And it's an honor. I felt like a celebrity. It was really good. And then I tried to tap him up and say, would he like to come and work for us? But he's very happy at the moment, so that's fine.
How is your Italian? You're fluent 100%?
Yes. I'm 100% Italian. I don't have a British passport. I have an Italian passport.
Okay.
I'm an Italian citizen. However, I grew up in London. I was nearly 5 years of age when I was 5 when I came to London. So you can say that I've been completely surrounded by the British culture and everything. And just to make people laugh, my wife says I'm Italian from the neck down, but English from the head up. So I'm not quite sure what she means there, but I do know what she means.
I'm just trying to work that out in my head at the moment.
That's a bit of a joke in the house. But anyway, I never went to Italian schools. So the Italian I learned it as a child from the family.
Right, okay.
So in Italy, you speak the formal and the informal, like they do in France, I understand. So I never learned, although I can speak the formal way, I tend to default straight into the informal way. And most people do. When they first meet, they're very polite, but then they say, can we address each other in the tu form? And then off they go, and it's a language that is in the... it's more friendly rather than the third person.
Right. Okay.
So anyway, I never did Italian class or whatever. I took my Italian O level. I was the only person in my school to do so. So we passed with 100% pass rate, which they put up on the board. And they were very happy to say that, even though there was only one person that did it. And so yes, I speak Italian. I read it. I write it. However, because I speak English like a Londoner, as you say.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate, and I say unfortunately for me, I speak Italian with an English twang, I've been told. So although, you see, because Italian is very regional, every region has a dialect.
Sure.
My grandmother came from Turin, that's the Piedmont area, which is heavily influenced by French. That's also how I did well in school in France, because I knew her dialect. And when I did French at school, I would know certain words when the teacher would ask, even though we hadn't been taught it yet, because I would think, well, what's it in Piemontese? And then I taught that way. But so they don't know where I'm from. So I speak Italian a bit like the Queen's English, if that the Queen's English is like perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas the dialects in Italy, some of them are just completely different other languages. Neapolitan, totally different language to the Northerners. Sardinia, different language. Even though it's all Italian, they're just completely. And so that's how you know where someone's come from. So when I speak to people, I confuse them because they don't know what part of Italy I'm from. But then they hear this sort of English twang. So I always make an apology that if I make a mistake or whatever, because it's all in the practice.
Yeah.
So, I speak Italian to any of my Italian agents, and I try to speak Italian as much as I can, because if you don't use it, you lose it, obviously. But I really enjoyed my time when I went last year to the road shows with the previous company. We did Dubai road shows in Milan, Rome, and Naples. And I just found myself on stage, talking.
See, that would be you in your element.
Yeah,
I would guess.
But because I know I'm confusing them.
Yeah,
it is my happy place. But I know I'm confusing them the minute I open my mouth. I immediately had to tell my 5-minute story. Look, I grew up in London, so forgive me if I make any errors or if I sound, not from Rome or not from Naples or whatever. But my other colleague who's Italian always said that you worry too much because that's an endearing quality of what you have. That's what he says. I mean, I think he's just being nice.
No, I was going to say that actually, because I think if you make the effort to speak the language, whatever the language is, wherever you go, it doesn't really matter, particularly if you can speak it well.
Yeah,
but it's a sign of respect.
Yeah,
isn't
but I am portraying that I'm Italian. That's my point. I'm not speaking the language to try and impress the people. I am Italian.
Oh no, I know.
And
I don't take that away from you at all.
But from that point of view, that's why I always feel I'm having to kind of justify how I sound. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But in terms of vocabulary and reading and everything, and everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about. In fact, some people say I speak better than some other Italians. So
I accused you of being English once, and I still feel bad about that.
It's okay.
I'm not. And I was like, well, you grew up in West London near me.
Yeah, my kids are half Italian, half English, so, my wife's English.
It's a good thing. Let's get back to real estate.
Sorry,
we've taken these kind of forks in the road today, but it's one of those things. We've got 7 minutes or so. This is another story that grabbed my attention. Etihad Rail to boost Fujairah property as investors eye price growth. And this is... we had a real estate gentleman, AJ, who comes in Tuesday mornings with us, and he was talking about Fujairah 3 or 4 weeks ago on this show, and looking and saying, look, Fujairah is one of the next hotspots for sure. The railway, we've got the pipeline, the boost in the port infrastructure that's going to happen in Fujairah. And I just think it's worth talking about for that reason, but in particular because of the development of Etihad Rail. So it's a real catalyst, I think, for the real estate market in Fujairah.
Yes, but wait, or no, whichever way you want to look at it.
Well, it's not right now. It's going to be time, isn't it?
Well, a lot of things have to change.
Yeah.
There are freehold areas in Fujairah, but a lot of them have to be they've got to be laid out by the ruler. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So it's not like Dubai freehold at all. So I mean, can a non-Emirati buy in Fujairah? The straight answer is yes, they can. But and the but is it can only be in a certain area, and those areas haven't necessarily been marked out by the ruler. So there's a long way to go. But I think if the ruler of Fujairah, really decided to put it on the map with all this infrastructure that is coming, 100% is going to be the next best thing.
Yeah.
But real estate can only be bought once it's marked out, because otherwise it's just locals that will be able to buy. So there's quite a way to go. But we've always said infrastructure does that. I mean, trains, specifically metro. Look what's happened to the metro line and all these new lines that are coming.
Yeah.
Real estate is the first to benefit, and then not just that, commerce as freedom of movement of people. I mean, Ajman will definitely improve. Sharjah is going to improve because right now they are cheaper areas than, let's say, Dubai, and if now you can hop on a train to Abu Dhabi, for example, the other way, starting from Fujairah, when eventually there will be all these stations, because right now not so many stations have opened up.
No, it's not.
It's just one or two.
By the
whatever.
end of the year, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I know the one in Dubai, I think it's opening up. Is it next month or is it December? I can't remember. It's September or December, but it's coming, and so they'll link that up. Then that freedom of movement is going to be great because people will obviously then choose to upgrade their properties in size and everything.
That's right.
Less money, and at the expense of, I don't know, maybe a half hour or an hour train journey, which, let's be fair, it doesn't really matter because let the train take the strain, as they used to say on British Rail. And you can have a snooze. You can play on your phone. You can do some work. You can, I was going to say do the crossword, but that's showing my age. But you can do it online, Sudoku or whatever it is.
Sudoku or...
Yeah.
What's that one? What's the 5-letter thing that people do?
Wordle. Wordle.
Yeah, that's de rigueur.
You know
days,
what I'm into right now?
Oh, here we go.
I'm into it's called Tawla 31. It's like backgammon.
Okay.
It's a local game. I think it was Egypt invented it. They play a lot of it in these Egyptian cafes.
Backgammon is a game from Arabia, is it not?
Well, that's
I
what I'm
believe.
saying. So here they
It's
call
known
it
as table, isn't it?
tawla. Yeah.
Tawla.
Tawla
It's the
means
same-
table. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
I played the version of 31, and I play with all my friends. I've taught everyone to play and now the master gets beaten by the pupil.
Oh, really?
Because it's a game of strategy, but it's a game of luck as well with the throwing of the dice.
Yeah.
But so the reason I'm mentioning this is you can play tawla on the train. You know, you can't do that on driving a car.
That's true. Well, you could take an assortment of board games if you wanted to. You could play Mousetrap. Do you remember Mousetrap?
I do remember Mousetrap,
Yeah.
but then of course don't forget that the cage that hits the mouse at the end.
Yes.
If the train sort of judders a bit, maybe the cage might fall.
Yeah, the mouse
you need
might get away.
You can't do a house of cards on a train.
True.
So I think that might fall down.
Stick to Connect 4 and Travel Scrabble.
Well, that as well, yeah.
That's our advice for train journeys.
But yeah, no. Going back to Fajera, I think
You're welcome.
It's something to talk about, to highlight for sure.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for that next big thing, and why not? It used to just be a place where you would go for a staycation, perhaps.
It's the joining up, though, isn't it? Of-
Joining the whole Emirates up.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
right. And it allows Fajira to, it positions Fajira as ready to diversify. That's the point, shortening travel times. It's a lower entry level, I suppose, to Fajira real estate. I think that's an interesting story. There's one thing I really wanted to mention today. We've got a couple of minutes, and this is really for the old timers, I suppose. The old-timey people amongst us.
Okay.
And that probably includes you and I.
Yes, of course.
And the story is Nakheel beginning the handover of 892 homes at Jebel Ali Village. So, for anybody that's been here any length of time, Jebel Ali Village, traditionally a huge community built by Jebel Ali and Dutco, I think was the company. And it was built to house the families that were building the port in the early 70s.
Yeah, I mean, if you recall as well, I mean, I remember when Nakheel actually invoked the 12 months notice to evict these tenants, that it hit the newspapers, everyone's up in arms, how could you do this? We've been living here for generations or whatever. And, that's one of the reasons, one of the 4 reasons why people are actually evicted by giving 12 months notice, and it's one that is actually forgotten, is for reason of demolition. Yeah. And they were, as I say, one of the first, if not the first, and they've gone on to actually do that at the Point as well. They've evicted a lot of the tenants, the commercial tenants there, and obviously redeveloping at the top of Palm Jumeirah. But no, this particular area is now going to be home to, 5,000?
It's 5,500 residents, that's right. 80 hectares.
Villas or residence, does it say there?
I'm not sure what it is, but let me just look quickly.
Anyway,
Landscape parks, walking, cycling paths, community centre, paddle courts, cement lawns.
So
Doesn't say.
there's a clear need for it, and this is another reason. I mean, this area, that's sort of where Festival Plaza, where the IKEA is. I'm not talking about down at Festival City.
Yeah, and
this is the
other
Ibn
side,
Battuta
that's right,
area.
yeah.
Exactly, that sort of mall there.
Yeah.
This is where these villas and townhouses are. Is again leading that area of between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. This is still very much obviously Dubai, but a bit like Al Ghadir is sort of on the confines of Abu Dhabi. But still Abu Dhabi, then all this area here is starting to get to the confines of Dubai, but still close by to Abu Dhabi. So again, that link, whether it's car or whether it's train journey, it's a great need. The villas are amazing there, lovely, and spacious villas. And all of a sudden, pockets of things are cropping up: supermarkets, convenience stores, that kind of thing. Still a long way to go, I have to say. I think there's just one supermarket that's on this stretch of road. There's nothing else there, just this one supermarket, which obviously you can easily drive to. But I guess you would go to Festival Plaza for your stores, or of course Ibn Battuta Mall, which has absolutely everything.
Yeah, absolutely right.
But no, it's an area that's been developed, and it's good to see. From launches, because we see them downstairs here, like yesterday, the sort of spiel of the launch, the razzmatazz that comes with that, and then a few years later, here's your keys, and there is a new community. So a new chapter in that area, definitely.
Well, it was a place with great character, I think. I never lived there. I've had friends who lived there, so I've spent some time there. But, those kind of single-level villas, old school
Didn't
style.
they have a cinema
quite
there or
big
something
gardens
as well?
There was at where the old clubhouse was. There was a
That's
small
right.
cinema
And
there,
it was licensed,
Well,
as I
the
recall.
new old clubhouse, I
Right.
suppose you'd call it now.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
it
it's
still
a
there?
licensed
No?
area. Guy Fieri had a restaurant there as well.
Guy Fieri?
Remember the guy that does diners, drive-ins, and dives?
No, never heard of that.
On what's the food channel? Whatever the food channel is.
Okay.
Diners, drive-ins, and dives. He's a guy that drives around America in a Pontiac or a Trans Am or something, and he goes to all these little restaurants and he says.
I'm sorry, I'm too busy playing towel with my friends.
I know you
I don't
are,
watch
yeah.
TV anymore.
He says Flavor Town a lot,
Okay.
which I think is a catchphrase.
Flavor Town.
Yeah. Come to Flavor Town.
Okay, nice.
But Jebel Ali is back. That's
Yeah,
the
for
key
sure.
of this whole story, so it's a good thing. It's a revitalisation of, I think, a much-loved rental
And you know what?
residential district.
Sooner or later as well, you're going to start to see some handovers of Jebel Ali villas, or the Palm ones.
Oh, yeah.
And
good
do you know
point.
what? That'll take you back to sort of the heady days of the early 2000s or whatever, when when the Palm was actually launched.
Yeah.
And then obviously a few years later they started, handing over the Palm villas that often English footballers or the England footballers, got their hands on a few, and celebrities. So so look, Dubai doesn't stop, as we've said. It just keeps rolling, and this is just a testament to it's not just a brochure. There you are. You do get a nice property at the end of it. So buy your property now.
There you are. And use a trusted property consultant.
Well, yeah.
I did the plug for you
Thank
there.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mario Volpe is the host of the Dubai Property Podcast, writes a weekly column for the national newspaper. He visits us every Wednesday morning, and he is also a senior manager at Eva Real Estate. You do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it keeps you young.
That's what I like to hear. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. We post short clips of our interviews on Instagram, so make sure you check those out as well.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.